Alrighty, hello, welcome back to stream. Today is Art Club and it is episode 2. So, for the most part, the idea was to have more options, but since nobody seemed to give any others this last month, which, not blaming you, we are going to continue on with this one. We started this one in the first episode. Also, by the way, I have a fancy arm now that you can follow. But for the most part, I'm not too upset about it because this one is incomplete to me. Let me see here. I'm actually going to get rid of the chat. So if you guys message, I hope I catch it. But otherwise, I'm going to take it off screen so it's not too distracting. Anyway. So, there are a few things with this one that were left unfinished that I no longer mind. I can actually finish it now, so it's okay that nobody posted, I promise. For anyone curious as to what's going on, you can post every month one character in Discord, and we possibly, depending on who votes on it, can start working on things. So, anyways, it's been a while for me. It's been about a month since I've seen this character, even looked at her, so immediately I noticed quite a few things that we need to fix up. So we're going to be doing that today. So this is pretty much going to be a restructure and rendering portion. If you have not seen the first half of this, I highly recommend that you do, but it is not required. So let's get back into this. Also, for my normal people, if you're here live, I do apologize. Please put up with me. This is a much slower stream, and I am going to very specifically be teaching more about Photoshop itself and doing the art. So this is very slow compared to what you're used to, and I do apologize for that, but it's necessary. So either way, say hello to my beautiful new hand. I'm very excited about this since I couldn't find anything for highlighting, although now I have a secondary idea of what I could have done with that. Oh well, whoops, too bad. But anyways, just as a reminder, if anyone wants to follow along with this or try it on their own, this image that we got from Pinterest is available in the Discord. So easy peasy, not very difficult. I give you guys everything so you can do this with me. But anyways, I promise. Getting to the point. Everything that we still have down here in the layers section, keep in mind I only have the flat colors and I have the sketch. So depending on which one you turn on or turn off is what you see. Now for us, I have some markers that are barely visible, but that's okay. I'm going to take both my flat layer, right click, or you just click with your pen. We're going to duplicate the layer, and it's just a flat copy. Easy peasy. So on my layers, it shows up as a flat layer and a flat copy. Do the same with the sketch. Duplicate layer. Now you've got a sketch copy, a sketch, a flat copy, and a flat. Layer 2 are my markers. Ignore that. But take your copies, put them together so that when they're layered, you just press and hold, drag it. Sketch copy, flat copy. You're going to press Control E, and that is going to flatten your 2 copies. So you have one entire copy. I like to keep everything organized, so double click it, and you can change the name of the layer, which is going to be just Zylas at this point, since I don't want to confuse anybody. All right, now I'm going to click off these layers, the bottom 2 layers, because we don't need it duplicated. We don't need to see it. This one entirely, which by the way is alpha locked. I just noticed that. So if you see this dark little square, I'm going to unclick that. Always be aware if your stuff's alpha locked. And we're going to move things on this character. So for most people, you can, we'll get to it. We can do more of the liquefy, but for what we're doing at the moment, over here, pick up your lasso tool. If it does not show up as a lasso tool, keep in mind it could also show up as any other sort of lasso. Just check your tools is what I should say. So right off the bat, I'm going to tell you guys, I've noticed while not really paying too much attention to this, but, you know, attention enough, that this entire side is just a little too big. So we press the lasso tool, we press the move tool, because now we're going to move this sucker around. So you can Control T to transform what you have lassoed, and I'm going to press and hold my control button. It doesn't matter which control button, you're going to just see that it changes your mouse from the black to the white. It's simple, and I'm going to drag. We're dragging and moving corners and things, trying to reassess our face here because it needs to be reassessed really bad. I think we're moving to about here. So, press the lasso tool again, apply your transformation. There are going to be gaps. This is one gap. Let me zoom in so you can see. That means you can see the background right in her skull. It's awesome. But the importance of that simply being we're going to paint over it. Don't forget about that. So when you're painting and God forbid you have alpha lock on and you notice there's a hole in her head, it's fine. Check your settings. So anyways, I'm taking my lasso tool for various different bits of her face and I'm readjusting because there's some spots that are just off. So don't mind me while I do this portion. I'll make sure that's still the same. So this is one way to just go and adjust or readjust everything. I highly recommend that if you're going to do your readjustments, try to keep in mind that, oh, I don't want to do it like that. Try to keep in mind that you're messing everything up and it's perfectly okay. This is an entirely separate layer. That was the point. So for the lasso on the lips, something that I do want to show you how to avoid these holes. Lasso, get your movement tool, press Alt. Alt is going to change my button. You see, well, you can kind of see it. It goes from a black nib here and it duplicates. It has a black one and then a white one. So you can't see it. I was trying to make sure that you could with my little pin, but I don't think it's going to show up. So anyway, hold the Alt. You can move the lips and it's an entire duplication and you're not putting holes in your face. Okay? Okay, there we go. But lots of the same thing. Transforming, moving things around, trying to get everything where it should be, or at least where I think it ought to be. Again, we will repaint everything, so don't panic. I'm also going to warp because there's just an angle over here I want to deal with. We'll get to that later because her mouth is still there. Hi, Chris. How's it going? Are you excited for later? Her eye. So a lot of adjusting, a lot of moving. This isn't necessary. Like I said, you can always just have a perfect sketch from the beginning. Good for you, but that's not that's not how I roll. So a lot of times you will see that I hate sketching. I don't do it very accurately, but I do try my very best to readjust later in my pieces. So that's kind of what we're seeing now. And having the horns is making this like a million times more complicated, but it's okay. This is much further than we originally anticipated. Going well, I'm hyped for Delves. How are you? I'm good. Just trying to redo some of the work for my girl here. All right, so this is what we had. This is where we are. So we're moving things around to be less anime, I guess, and more realistically proportioned. So these are my markers. Here's my sketch. A lot of these things are sometimes stuff that I would or would not keep, but anyway, it's perfectly fine. Now, once you've made your adjustments, your moves, take out your brush tool. I better make sure I have the correct one. I'm going to use my hard pressure brush, and what this is this one, so it has that slight fuzzy feel on the end. Now, when you've readjusted stuff, yes, there's holes in her face and etc. You press and hold Alt, click to select the color, and you just keep doing that. Click and paint and click and paint. And you paint over your mistakes, essentially. So, even though we've done some mess ups, it's perfectly okay because we're coming in and readjusting her face. So if anyone was worried about all those lines showing up, don't be. It's just a matter of getting in and repainting. It's a repainting process. So again, if you're like me and you're not just a magnificent sketcher, you can do this because I am not a magnificent sketcher. I am a painter, and I like to paint in all of these different bits. Whoops. So a lot of the sizing on some of these things are a little different. That's not quite how I wanted that to be. So this is the time to do it. This is the mid, oh, we've made everything change. What are we gonna do? So this is what we do. We just keep painting, to be fair. Always painting, always doing the things. Fill in your holes, your gaps of all of the adjustment spots that you've done because, yeah, trust me, it's weird, but it's fine. Oops. I am also painting over, not just the holes in the face, but I'm painting over the sketch. Remember, we did immediately merge the flat layers with the color layers. So just as a very clear example, let me get rid of that. Remember our lines? You see how they're down here, all these sketchy lines? I can now paint over them, is essentially what this means, which is perfect. So a lot of our sketch is going to be lost in this phase, but it's not the end of the world. So again, we come through, we repaint some stuff, everything is perfectly acceptable, everything's fine. May not be some people's best intent, but you know, for me this works, which is why I clarified in the first one. Like, guys, this is gonna be exactly how I do things. I apologize. I am chaos, and yeah, it definitely is chaos when I'm working on it. Technically never really painted in her eyebrows, so I suppose we should do that now. Yeah, I was gonna say, I think I made a mistake on that. Eyebrows need to be up here. So anyway, anytime you've done something or a portion of this, don't ever feel as though it's the end of the world, because it's not. It's like painting on a real painting. I used to teach painting classes, and people would, you know, take black or whatever, and they would just, whoosh, oh my god, I've destroyed it. And I'm, okay, although it's digital and you can just erase, the same kind of stuff applies for like a normal painting. You just take the color that you had on top of it and you just paint over it. It's fine. Everything's fine. But, you know, people like to be dramatic. This is one of the benefits of digital. You don't have to worry about it, but still don't panic. Just keep painting. Just keep painting. So this is one of the benefits of having that paint style. Nothing has to be perfect. I'm trying to think of how far that should be before I do her eyebrow. So any questions about painting, please ask. And no, you're not distracting me from anything. If you want to talk about gaming, everything's fine. We're just chilling here. Just be aware this is being recorded and it will be on YouTube though. So depending on what conversations we have, you may or may not want this on YouTube. Okay, now if I zoom out a little, okay, I think that brow is a little high, but it's okay. But this is the point. You can see, you can work, you can change things, and it's wonderful. So let's move her down just a tad. Didn't you? I feel about you being all wonky, lady. some slight attitude in the eyebrow, but that's not exactly what we're going for. Slight, yes. Lots, no. How far would this go down? Probably about here. Trying to keep my little horns in place too. We don't want to forget about those guys. I don't know. Would that be that far down? Let's think about this, guys. Because I'm not thinking about this very much. But truthfully, this is what happens while I paint. I think about things. I question myself a lot. See, there's no wrong way to go about any of this. It's all just practice. And just figuring out what you like, to be fair. Oops. I need those eye bags. Stay. I hate having to repaint planes of the face, but it's fine. I want to get rid of these sketchies. Now, one of the other things that I do, and I'm switching to a soft brush, by the way, and people have seen me do it in various streams over the years, is I will completely get rid of or delete the sketch piece, like the layer, and just I wouldn't be painting over this and being like, oh, there's a line there, I need to fix that. Mostly for that reason, because it's just a lot of work to go back in and repaint all of this and get rid of the lines. But for the sake of starting and being fresh at this, I would definitely recommend you do this. Just because the more you paint over where these spots are, switching to a hard brush, by the way, the more you're going to notice where these changes are made. And it kind of builds your mental library up of like, oh, this is how this works. So don't be afraid of your sketches. Don't be afraid to keep your sketches down here. And the problem is, yeah, I don't want these black lines. Like, we don't need those anymore. Thank you. Thank you so much. So all these dark bits that are not helping out, we're just painting over it. Oh, this actually works even better. If I make my brush smaller, I can just paint over this part. Ha-ta-ta. So you can always move and change your lines just by consistently painting over stuff. Just keep painting is essentially what I'm trying to say for this particular lesson. I want you guys to have that ability over time, and I want you to see that I'm not skilled at all. As crazy as that sounds, but it's true. These are simply skills that I have built up over time as well, so they're not perfect. So you just pick up colors, you put the right colors in the right spots, you paint over stuff, easy peasy. Although this isn't meant to be a line to be dark, I'm just trying to paint it real quick so that it blends the way that it should. Also called occlusion lighting, if anyone's curious. We can remove a lot of this, which is fantastic. Excuse me. Oh, hi, little demon girl. How's it going? Welcome in, everybody, from Little Demon Girl Stream. We are currently in the middle of a lesson, but that's okay. So we're getting there. Where's my markers? Markers are almost set. I want to take this as a whole take my side. Yes, it's pretty slanted. One thing we're going to have to keep in mind here too is there's just not enough hair, because this is a total side that we're not seeing. Oh, we need the darker points of this. Lots of painting and overpainting. Don't ask questions. I'm kidding. You can't ask questions. But this is where we're at, trying to figure out where we left off, what we messed up. And it's not so much of a mess up as it is just making changes that feel good to you. It can be however you want. I mean, it's art. It's not... It's subjective. How about that is what I'm trying to say without saying it correctly. So my skills in this bit are pretty much just saying you can sketch and have a perfect sketch and begin your arc with a perfect sketch. If you're like me and you're not much of a sketcher and your sketches suck, you can start doing things the way I do it. This is called overpainting. I am a painter and we're painting. This is what we're doing. So in case anyone's curious, this lesson is for those that need an alternative, and we working on it. So let's see how far we've changed. This is what we started with. Don't be rude. Sorry, hold on, I'm fighting my Cintiq. Okay, this is what we started with, and this is where we're at. So it's slightly different, but it's working more towards the angles of the face and fixing the structure. Anyway, let me see. Come back on here. Oops. My hand will disappear, by the way, with my double screens, so I apologize. Little demon girl. Hope you like the screenshot. I did! It was very pretty. What do you mean? Oh, you know, because it links your stream. If anyone wants to come from your stream. I've gotten some people from your stream before, is all I'm saying. We should never question her. Coloring the lines. Mouthing. Yeah, it's just all kinds of weird stuff. That's what she said 2 streams ago. It is. It truly is. So, haha. Either way. So that's all I'm doing today is pretty much just trying to fix and adjust things to be better proportionate. It doesn't have to be exact to the reference, but this is just my idea of showing that how you can fix that. It's mostly just problem solving. This is a problem solving game, and this is how you do it. So we're getting less into kind of like the last stream of this, which mind you was a month ago. We are currently fixing things is essentially it. We're fixing things, and there are other bits that I noticed in particular that just didn't quite fit or we didn't get to. In this case, I did not get the chance to specify things or continue to render. We only did essentially half of a project. So now we're coming back, trying to finish said project, add things in, make changes. So I'm trying to fix it. I'm trying to fix it, you guys. This ear comes out quite a bit. I want to keep it that way. Eraser. Erase some of these. Wow, that's a fuzzy brush. Okay, hard round brush. Erase some of these extra strands, things we don't need. Definitely don't need those. But this is a very painterly phase of what we're doing right now. Yesterday I ended in... Oh, no, you ended when I went to bed. Yes, I did. This girl has way more forehead than I thought, so let's select this again for like the millionth time. And the horns. Oops. Alright. Pressing and holding Alt to create that secondary version here. Just remember that. Also want to back up and look at this from this perspective. I think that works a little better. I don't want to give her too big of a forehead, but sheesh. That ought to do. So this entire segment is pretty much all just painting over and adjusting. Everybody gotta make the adjustments. And you don't have to know how to do all of this right away. This is just years of practice for me. But you guys can see the point of continuing to mesh and move stuff. Which is also why I decided to do these videos in the first place, was just to kind of prove, hey, see, you don't have to be perfect at this. This is all just practice and time. Where do I want this to be? This ought to be way up here if I'm being honest with myself. Hairline curve up this way. So I'm pretty sure I'm going to have to change some of my horns anyways because they're not quite the shape they need to be, which is also not helpful. Oh my god, did you? You poor thing. I'm so sorry. You tell those evil dreams to go away. Alright, where am I going to do this? So, for missing this part of her face, excuse me, sir. Madam, whatever. This comes up to here. Ta 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 ta. Again, all the mixing and matching. Alright, another thing about Photoshop. So we have our base hair color. I don't remember if I told you guys about changing color, but you can go over here to your foreground and background colors. Currently my background is purple. Just keep it that way. Click on it, it'll bring up this screen. We're going to need to do some color adjustments. So I'm going to slide this bar ever so minusculely in one direction. And then we're going to pick, and it's going to show us right here, we're going to pick another color. Sometimes desaturated is better, but right now I'm thinking saturated will be fine. Pick a shade, and we're going to use these shades to start separating the hair. So this is where you'll see kind of like either the root of the hair, because depending on how it's shaped, you want it to be darker at the root and darker somewhere else. So I made these white lines previously, therefore this should be dark. If you want something to look like it has form, keep your shadows and your light in check. Although this is not the light color that we're going for. It was a sketch, so we're gonna have to go back up here and change color. Let's do a desaturated blue. That is much better. So anywhere that you think it's gonna pop up, great idea. Just change that right there. Oh, it's so much better. Don't ever use straight white. Don't ever use straight black. It's never good for you. Just as an artist, I just want to say that. So I just mix and match between what colors we already have and get in here, break the hair apart, and just paint. So that doesn't mean you have to paint every single strand of hair. Just get a feeling of, oh, there's a bit of hair here. There's a bit of hair here. You don't need to be crazy. Now, is that a chosen style of like drawing and painting? Yes, that is my chosen style. You don't have to follow it, but honestly, if you want to paint every strand of hair, have fun. You know? Like, I'm not gonna hold you back if that makes you happy, I will say. I simply start big and work my way down. So, that is currently what is happening. And it also depends on, for me, am I doing it stylized or am I doing like a full realistic rendered version of a piece? That's also very important. You do not have to have a particular style as well. So if anyone thinks, oh, I don't have a style yet, I must suck. No. Your style comes as you work. That's beautiful. If you say so. Thank you. So yeah, this is a very, very long progress type of piece, but only because of my standards for it. So again, nobody has to work the way I do. This is simply just optional. I just want you guys to get a feel for Photoshop itself rather than struggle and be like, oh my God, I'm not a good artist. So again, if there are specific art questions, please ask. It's no big deal. It's just stuff that you'll find, and you can look online. It doesn't even have to be my answer. You can find stuff from other artists where, like, you know, we'll sit and talk about, oh, hey, this is how we figure things out. This is how we do stuff. And it's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. Nothing you do is wrong. You're just learning. Where was that kind of brownish color? There you go. I'm looking for you, color. Do you mind? I used that on here twice. I don't like that. Again, repainting over my sketches with better colors, because my sketch was originally black. You don't have to have these lines, by the way. It's all, again, this is a stylization choice. If I were fully rendering a piece, it would not look like this. It just depends on what I do. I just have two different ways of painting. It's whatever. You guys do with it how you feel. I'll bring some light up here. I will say that one of the most important things you can do, like this, learning to do all this, we're going to zoom in. Zoom in, pay attention to the actual value of some of this stuff. Like right now I'm paying attention to this shadow that has a completely different shape than what was on my screen. So we're trying to adjust that and correct that. Doesn't mean that it's wrong, just I would really like this to be very much like the picture itself, just to show you guys how to start, how to learn, how to make adjustments on your own, based on your own judgment. There's lighter colors here. This is also one reason why I did say in the previous video, and I'll say it again, you should probably learn to work from black and white first and then color your pieces. I work straight in color because I'm used to it. It's just a personal choice. Although I will say, also, I'm getting back into the preference of doing black and white first, especially if it's going to be specifically character rendered stuff, just because I want to have where's that water line? Just because I want to have that sense of I worked on my values, they're good, you know, that kind of thing. We all have someone that we follow and we approve of how they do things, but always keep in mind, everybody's always improving. Always. And especially as artists, we constantly strive for perfection. It's not going to happen, but we strive. You're saying some big girl words. Yes, I am. All right. Head's still a little weird, but that's fine. I'm going to pretty much assume that that's because I'm still fighting with these horns. So here's something that we're going to do. I'm going to right-click and duplicate this exact layer that we've been working on. I'm going to hide the bottom layer. I'm going to select only the horns, if I can here. And remember, to select two different pieces, you hold the Shift button. Shift is your add, Alt is your subtract. But anyway, I'm going to lasso those. And because those are selected, up in my navigation, there's a select, and it gives you pretty much this drop-down screen. Can you stay in the right one? So this entire thing just sits here. What I like to do is press inverse. That means everything outside of the horns is selected, and I press delete. Ta-da! So you can work with your selection, and you can work with the negative of your selection, which is the inverse. So now that I just have the horns, my other layer that I'm now showing, remember, the eyeball is the turn on, turn off. I have this, but I also have the horns duplicated. So if I move the top layer, this is what we're doing. So keeping those there because it's giving me problems. Now I'm going to select the bottom layer and erase the horns because they're giving me problems. So if you're working from one layer, this is how this is done. You can also keep everything separate. There's no need to keep this as one specific, one specific layer. It's kind of tragic that a lot of people would probably think that you do, but it's fine. Okay, hair. We're pretending this is all hair. Excuse me, there's hair here. You have this bit, this bit, this bit. And we just paint over it. Easy peasy. Sometimes it feels like, oh, I worked really hard, now I'm losing all my work. It might feel like that way, but regardless, I would rather have to just keep painting over the work that I'm using and doing and worry about it later, to be honest. There are too many things that we get hooked on or think about and we think, oh no, we've messed up. It's fine. It is perfectly fine. That is more acceptable. Okay. Now, haha, horns, you are where you're supposed to be. I'm going to use my Zylas layer. And finally adjust the head. Because I'm pretty sure we have too much hair on top. Now that I'm thinking about it. But it's okay. Like I said, this is all about adjusting. I like to transform, warp. You can also use the liquefy tool, which will probably come in handy in a bit. But mostly, I'm trying to keep the center of my face lined up here too, because that could cause problems later. Doesn't have to be perfect. We're going to paint over this a million times. It's fine. I do want this to be kind of up here though. Horns, I have need of you. So anyways, this is my working process. It is chaos, but it can be useful for anybody. Okay, I lied. I don't want this piece right here. All right. So this is how these adjustments are made. You don't have to be perfect. I just want that to be very clear. If anyone is ever trying to work on the art aspect and they're like, oh, this just isn't working for me, it's fine. It doesn't work for me either for hours. Trust me. Most people, when I was doing my portraits back in the day, they would just be like, I turned away for 5 minutes, Vel, and now you have a whole new thing. It happens. It happens. This is what happens when you're working on things. So if anyone ever asks, no, I don't believe in doing studies, but that's because I believe you're studying as you're doing whatever piece you're working on next, which for me tends to actually be very true. So you know, it wouldn't be very good to constantly be studying. Although you can, that's just a thing. But, you know, went to art school, I studied, I did things. Didn't get me anywhere. The only thing that got me anywhere was just doing stuff on my own. So that tends to work for me. All right, now you little booger. I think the horns might be a little, there we go, a little too much. I mean, they're big, but big. Now, if anyone has any questions, comments, or concerns, definitely leave them for me. Because I know for a fact this is just going to look like pure chaos to everybody. Every single person, and that's okay. Why people put up with, you know, me streaming and me doing all this stuff, they just sit and watch. They just know it's eventually going to come to fruition, so that's how and why. Actually, you little booger, can be like that. I try really hard to keep the planes of the face, only because I get really lost in them very quickly. So if anyone's curious, why am I moving stuff around all the time? Because it's just not the right spot. It's killing me. Oh, where's that dark blue? Dark blue should be up here. Brow. Adjust my chin as well. Okay. And then we've got some of this, for the most part, where it needs to be. Finally. I'm very curious about this on this side. This has got to be on this side. Sorry, adjusting horns. They're very good for perspective. There we go. So this is that side of the face. Excuse me. Actually, get really close to the eye here. Does that seem right? That seems right. It's really hard to get the perfect spot, so just saying. If you're constantly moving stuff, it's fine. Welcome to my world. That's not what we're doing. Keep being you. I will, trust me. Have a good night. I'll see you later, little demon girl. Yeah, there's some lashes here. I'm not concerned about it, but you know, it's a hint of stuff. Yeah. Oops. Trying to be exact on this line, if you don't mind. Ooh. I'm going to warp. I probably should be using liquify for some of this, but it's fine. Say either or, whichever way works, works. And remember, I'm constantly pressing the exact same shortcuts I told you guys about earlier to try and fix things. So that's why one hand always stays on the keyboard, because it changes the size of my brush, does all these things. You'll find a workflow that works for you, and like don't apologize for it. Mine is complete chaos. I apologize for it all the time, but most of you guys enjoy it, so I don't know. I'm trying not to apologize for mine anymore. But I'm still getting there too. Okay, some of these pieces. So it's a lot of Alt, select the color, paint over it, Alt, select the color, paint over it. It's very, very interesting, I promise you. It's the most interesting thing in the universe. If you're not interested, there's something wrong with you. Just kidding. Should I cut that up a little more? Probably. So despite it being very chaotic, we're getting closer to where this should be. It's not perfect, but we're getting there. Keep feeling like I'm also just not getting this hairline right either, no matter what I'm doing. Could just be my own mind. Let's try, since I can't figure out what it is. Anyways, go to the top navigation. Under Image, you'll scroll down to Image Rotation. You can flip your canvas horizontally and look at it from another angle, which, wow, is very helpful. I can already tell what's wrong. Okay, excuse me, you're like not even correctly shaped. There we go. Or angled, I should say. The shape's fine. Angled, not so great. Angle bad. Wait. Let's do an Alt version of this. Excuse me. There we go. So sometimes flipping your canvas helps. Most people would probably say that. Do I flip my canvas as often as I should? I almost never flip my canvas, if I'm being honest with myself. But, again, I'm still working on myself and all the things that I need to do. I almost want to say this ear portion is a little too far over, but I could be wrong too. Color select, excuse me. That's not the color I want. There's just a lot of various things that you can do to help. To help yourself, but just don't ever be upset if you're learning. I've been doing this for years and I'm still learning. Promise you, it's not perfect. Maybe we should flip this too so I can see exactly where I'm still missing. Why do you seem off? That's a thing. Alright, let's try filter. At the very top, liquefy. Remember, it brings up this weird page. So I'm going to try my best to make big subtle adjustments. I know that's such a weird word, but trust me. Aha, okay. I'm seeing what's going on here. Chin. Some things jet out in good spots and some things are not. I'm also going to have to adjust that. It's fine. It's completely fine. Everything's fine. feel like that eyebrow is finally getting some justice. I'm not gonna lie. Wow, the shadow was like way in the wrong spot. It's fine. Most of that's looking pretty good, I will admit. I was not used to that. Okay, so this portion. So I try to just paint and blend things together forever. It's not entirely necessary. I could always just use a soft brush. There are ways to kind of cheat and get the effect that you need when you're first starting. But for me in general, I could just tell after a while where my lacking is at. I certainly don't lack confidence, I just lack precision. It's like, it's fine, I'm just gonna redraw things 5 times. It's cool. It's totally cool. You are still a problem. Come here. We're gonna fix you. This is so much more stinking helpful. Fill the gaps in your skull. But anyway, I'm hoping you guys can at least see how this paint over technique can change how you approach doing things. And of course, Photoshop makes everything a million times easier and better and helpful in its own regard. Oh, okay, it is the same color. It's just not doing what I want it to do. Hold on. You know, it would also help if your eyes were not so wonky. Again, it's the things you notice after you've stared at it forever. Can you not be that dark? That would be so helpful. Thank you. Hi, McGonagall. I'm here for the art and stayed for the Aurelia. Thank you. Much appreciated. There we go. A little bit of painting into the eyes because, let's be honest, your eyes don't actually connect with a line. I love your hair and your art. Thank you. Working on it. We're getting there. There's a lot of adjustments. So let's see here. Let's move all this back over. Image. Better. Getting there. Not quite, but better. Okay, so here's where we started, and this is where we are. It's adjusting slowly, but it's working. Just takes a long time. That's why a lot of the times if I'm streaming, I don't really tell you what buttons I'm pressing for most of this, just because I'm just trying to get the art done. But if you have any questions, definitely ask, because that's what today is about. This needs to be darker. I'll avoid some things, but a lot of this needs to be done in its own way. Alright, soft brush time. I'm just selecting the color that is closest on one side or the other. And I'm just going to take this all the way through, actually, through the whole thing. Try to get the correct shading. Remember, it's all about your lighting and your shading. Without it, it's 10 times worse. In my case, I'm trying really hard to keep the shape without going too far. And again, you guys, doesn't have to be perfect. I'm waiting to get loaded in. Oh, good luck. How do I get the things from my brain onto the tablet? Simple. Practice. But really though, drawing, this is why we have our reference over here. Drawing from your mind is incredibly difficult. It is a gift. You can learn that skill, but I would still say a lot of it requires practice. Oodles and oodles of practice. And in a lot of our cases, we don't practice enough, but you know. We all get to learn and try and fail all on our own, so. But hopefully I'm convincing people to practice and try for themselves with what we're doing today. And this is actually not up here if I were re-looking at my other one over here. Yeah. I'd have to say it only glows in a little bit of this section, which is fine. But oh yeah, we've gone quite a bit already, and it's only been, really only been an hour? I thought it would have been 2 hours. This is usually a 2-hour mark for me, so excuse me. So one of the things I don't like, personally, because people will always make tutorials and be like, this is how you do hair, this is how you do this, but sometimes you just need the whole look of something to understand it. And that's me. I would rather watch somebody for hours just working through something, because then it makes more sense to me. So this is how we ended up with these classes, you guys. So hopefully this is helping people. If it's not, I apologize. I will do better, I swear. And I'd like to remind everyone, we've been using literally the same default brushes since we started. So if anyone thinks it's because there's a lack of brushes that you're not getting what you're trying to do, it has nothing to do with that. It's a lack of skill somewhere else. You just have to find where that is and work on it. In my case, my lack of skill is definitely in sketching. My sketches aren't good, but this is why we paint. Just paint. I think I want to come over here and make this. Ha 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 ha. So you don't have to be good at every aspect of art to be able to do anything. Just practice. Feel like we also need more on the outside. Is that a thing? Yeah, probably. Excuse me here. We don't have enough volume. How dare. Okay, let me see. I'm very, very descriptive when I help do a reference sheet for a commission, but I prefer for the artist to give me the best feedback and advice about what works and what would be best. I really push artistic freedom with those I work with. I need your input 100% as much as possible. Yeah, and that's a definite thing. That's okay. Especially if you're going to work with someone, it would best be someone who's willing to have those conversations. Because a lot of people still get nervous about asking me for commissions, and especially if we've never worked together, people are always like, what do I do? What's this? What's that? And the questions don't bother me. It's just a matter of trying to fulfill whatever questions you do have, which, I mean, so say that this piece was an actual commission. Somebody commissioned me to do this. And they only had these 2 reference sheets at the bottom. Not a whole lot to work with, which is fine. But one of the things that would have happened is that I would say, okay, depending on what we're doing, this is what I'm comfortable with. This is, the things that I'm concerned about, and blah, 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 blah. And I actually go over all those with you. Ta-ta. In my case, one of my concerns would probably be just how people want like characters posed. Sometimes it can pose a problem in itself because people want to do weird and wild things. Oh, wait, I need to put that together. Sorry. And sometimes like it's kind of like, think of it as like a comic book. People want that comic book character pose, but have you actually ever seen someone try to do those poses in real life? Doesn't go very well. So it's kind of in that case where I'm always like, okay, what do you want? What are you looking for? Because I'll at least be honest with you and tell you what's viable, what isn't. And I am not a comic book artist. I can't just make things work out of the blue. But I can always be like, hey, I'll try this and I'll work on it, but I'll also let you know if it's not working. For me, be like, you need to find somebody else who knows how to do this. So it depends on what you're doing, depends on what you're looking for, etc. But all the things, I feel, tend to work out in the end. I'm going to duplicate my layer over here because I want to do some moving around. Oops, hold on. Turn that off. Hi, 𝐀𝐫𝐭, how's it going? I feel like I still should have made that horn a little bigger, but it's fine. It's not as weird as it seems. I don't feel like that's a warp problem. I feel like that's a liquefy problem. Big eyebrow. Oh, I take that back. Can I do this in one go if I just do the big nudge? Probably. I feel like the nudge is helpful, but it's not perfect, which is fine. Oops. Fleshy color, if you don't mind. Oh! I'm coloring with the wrong color. That makes absolute no sense. This is why we have to pay attention, Belle. Anyway. Did your hair blonde? We're working on going back to white. It's taking a bit. No, I mumble, 𝐀𝐫𝐭. I mean, it is low, but I mean, I do mumble. Let's be real. You know me. It's been, how many years have you known me to mumble my ass off? A lot, a lot, a lot, a lot, a lot. I mumble. I'm really bad about it, but either way. We've worked on upping some of the gain in some spots, but I try to keep it lower than most people, just because I don't like being super loud and obnoxious. I don't want someone to come into my channel and go, "Wow, she's obnoxiously loud." I mean, I am, but you know, when people increase their microphone, it makes it 10 times worse. There we go. Getting some better versions of this. Some of the shadow help too. Ugh, better. Better, not great, but so much better. So much better. Me likey already. It also would help if we would soften some stuff. So anyways, any questions, comments, or concerns about painting? Feel free to leave them for me. It's perfectly acceptable. But at least you guys could see more of my process on how this is done. Oh, so much better. This is way better than when we started. This is also what happens when you spend more time on it. I've also been spending my time in my newer pieces anyway, getting like reflections and light, occlusion light, really working on that kind of stuff. So that's just a personal additive, but anybody can do this. Okay, let's try this again. That's where we started. This is where we are. Less anime, more realistic. We fixed our structure. I had to put on 100%. Yeah, it's mostly for, like I said, the headphone people who don't need to be blasted. But anyways, what do you guys think so far? I think we've done a pretty good job redirecting some of this stuff. And now, most of you who've been with me for years will know I will just nitpick the rest of this, literally until it's done. So that means, you know, it could be done soon, it could be done after a while. It just depends on how I feel about some of the pieces and where they're sitting at. Oh, that looks really nice. Her eyes are still pretty big, but it's not terrible. Which I like the mix between realism and semi-realism. It is a very, very fancy bit. But essentially, this is my process, guys. This is how this works. It's not the greatest process in the world, but it fits for people like me who are just more chaotic and need a little bit more to play with. How about that? I like noses, so clearly noses work really well. I honestly used to hate having to draw a nose at all. But I found this artist that had such great noses, and I just kept following her and looking at what she was doing. And shockingly, it was enough to get me out of my I hate noses phase, and now I love noses. I love this. I love this so much. So anyway. Alrighty. Tends to do pretty well in here. So anyways, questions, comments, concerns, please leave them for me. Otherwise, this is just the whole process, essentially. Picking and choosing, repainting back and forth. I hope this is helpful for others, but if it isn't, I mean, I'm not too upset. Sorry I'm not better at teaching, but I just kind of want to give everybody the chance to get a little more in-depth with my personal process, especially for those of you who've been watching me for years. It's a lot of work, a lot of same old shit. Looks very nice. Looks very, very nice compared to where we were. It's not quite what I want here. Excuse me, sir. Eyebrow. There we go. It's more what I'm looking for. If I can just whoop you. Changing my mind, like, way, way far in the process here. Welcome, welcome to Vel's style of work. It's like, nope, I don't like that. We're gonna change it. It's fine. It's completely fine. Yeah. Better. Better. Not great, but better. I can live with it. Can you stop being weird, Cintiq? I'd like to finish my eyebrows. Thank you. There we go. So that it fits the shape that we actually made for it. Okay, thanks. All right. That seems like it's going to be it for today. Few touch-ups here, just for silhouette-y purposes. This makes this look a little better if we can. Like I said, structure. This is a structure kind of spot today. I'm hoping it'll work well, but we'll see. That looks a little better. Okay, forehead-wise. One of the problems with light-colored hair or like very interesting colored hair is just that sometimes it's really hard to hold the right shapes and shades for it, because you're just like, why is this not working for me? Because sometimes it just doesn't like us, and that's the way it is. But anyway, I feel pretty happy with this result. So, and we made it through the whole thing without saving. Wow. Let's save it and not lose all this progress. Okay, thanks. Alrighty, and if you are rewatching this from YouTube, again, please ask questions. I will do my best to answer these in future lessons, but otherwise, hopefully we'll work on something new in episode 3. Don't know yet. We'll have to see what everybody posts, but if anyone does have specific questions, I will tailor everything in the lesson to kind of focus on those things. So, yeah, I don't mind. I'll work on it, but, you know, you guys work on your stuff, I'll work on my stuff. Hopefully we'll meet up in the middle, and you can learn from my mistakes and my victories. So, either way, let's see. What time is it? Okay, not too bad. Alrighty. Thank you guys who are live and were here to put up with me through this very strategic, very well thought of, very well thought through lesson. Not really, I'm not gonna lie. But, yeah, you guys know me. You know I work really, really hard to do what I can for you guys. But, I mean, again, if it did not have any effect for you, I'm so sorry. I'm sorry you had to put up with it. But we will be back next month. Every last Wednesday of the month is, of course, the art club, where I'm being very specific about the things that I'm painting. I'm not just painting and you're not just watching. It is meant to be lesson and involved. So either it works or it doesn't, but we'll continue to do this at least until March. I will probably not work on this piece again, just because I feel like I'm at a point where we should move on. If anyone does want to see bigger pieces where we're talking about doing whole bodies, not just a portrait, let me know. It's going to be a lot longer, but I'll do my best to get those lessons in there. Otherwise, we are going to be back on Friday for Tomb Raider 2. We are finishing. We have the very last level and the epilogue, I think. So once we finish that up, we will move on to another game. Otherwise, that's it. I'll see you guys on Friday for Tomb Raider. And, yeah, thank you so much for joining. Oh my god, really? Why is it every time everyone's done and we're trying to leave, we get rated? My dark goddess! Oh my god! Oh my goodness. That will be the end for the YouTube recording, but for those of you live, we'll just continue for a minute.